which basically means that if you guys see this here, and I was to say to you, how long, if you had to guess, how long is my forearm? All you guys standing there looking at me right now could probably make a pretty solid guess, right? But if I gave you this and I said, how long's my forearm, and I'm looking at you, this audience over here, it becomes way more difficult because I've now basically taken away the information from you. You know intuitively it's the same. This doesn't change. But what happens is as I go here, it gets shorter. It's just perspective, it gets shorter. So now you can't see it. So how do we get through it? There's a couple easy ways to do it, especially if you're dealing with things like arms or fingers or hands. And the answer is, and I don't know, Greg maybe's got a different way he does it, is you overlap it, and whatever's in front, which is this piece right here, is always gets the top of the overlap. So he's got his palm here. Now we're going to come into the forearm. Here comes the forearm up in here. We're going to now overlap. And then we get the bicep, and that's going to overlap. And then here's the shoulder, and now we come up in here. Notice there's an overlap. It goes like this. I don't know if you guys can see those lines in there. If that was a cylinder, going back to the cylinder, it would look like this, right? It would look like there'd be the cylinder, dot, dot, dot back here. There'd be another cylinder, dot, dot, dot back in here. Here's my key lines. Let me see if I can actually change. I don't know if we, oh yeah, we got color, good. Okay, so here's my color. Here's the lines you got to pay attention to here. Overlap, overlap, overlap. And the stuff that's closest to you always gets the best of it, right in there. So people go, how do you get all your anatomy going in the direction? Don't think about it as separate parts. Think about it as these things here, and as you get it closer, that each one of the, whatever's in front dominates. Think about it like when you're fanning out cards, right? When you're fanning out 4 cards, the one on top always is on top, and everything gets fanned behind it. It's sort of the same concept here with some of this anatomy. So, you got anything to add to that?
No, that was brilliant.
Oh. Okay. Show them. Let's talk about legs now and the leg construction. Go ahead.
I'm not going to do them. I can't do legs. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. What would you like to know about drawing legs?
Well, again, the components of it, besides the show them the teardrops in the legs.
All right.
The big sort of muscle structures that you could almost make, every leg could be made out of about 3 or 4 teardrops.
Okay. Okay, there's a skeletal leg. All right, so, whoops, how do we zoom back in?
Right here.
All right, so let me just quickly do my legs. Your kneecap. Okay, come down and into the foot. Now, because I know my anatomy, this makes it easy. So we have a muscle that comes down from this origin, wraps around behind the knee. See, and here starts these diagonals that I told you are always present. So you would have this teardrop here, another muscle comes here, this one's here. So you have the diagonal that touches.
And those were the bumps of the muscle? Remember, the inside's lower than the outside?
And this calf is, again, all like this. So you have this muscle here. See how this comes down like this, and like that.
And again, this is the important. This is the stuff here.
And then
a lot of people draw and they get the right amount of muscles. What they don't get is the tilting of the muscle. If I could just sort of squeeze some of their drawings and go, it'd be about 40% better, because they've got the muscle. They got the inside muscle, outside muscle, middle muscle, but they put them slightly in the wrong spot, and all of a sudden it looks a little awkward.
And then we get a little switch at the bottom with their ankles, because actually the lower ankle's lower. So here's where the diagonal pitch shifts. So and so that's how. And did I answer?
Yeah.
So that's it. So yeah, it's not straight up and down. Now everything's equal. And if I want to zoom in a little bit longer, or a little bit closer for you, you know.
So here's the big version.
Yeah, we get the kneecaps here, and this muscle actually sort of looks like this, the way it ties. And this one actually seems to grab quite a big chunk of the top of the knee. And the Rectus Femoris comes in here, like that. And this muscle that comes down divides. This is what will give you these sharp cuts in the muscle. This, I think it's called the sartorius or something like that. It's been years since I remember the Latin terms. But this muscle that comes and wraps is what gives these cuts and divides these muscles that give it this impression here of being chopped and teardropped, as Todd said.
Right. So let's go, and what Greg was showing you there, and let me get another layer here, that is what he's saying, here's now the second part of it. This is, I draw this one. I draw what I call the rope drawing, which is basically the licorice drawing, whatever name you want to give to it, that it's all connected. You can almost construct an entire body and never have to lift your pen off once. So if we were going to draw, let's say, a man's chest. Let's go back to blank here. Here's a man's chest. He's got his collarbone. He's got his nice pecs. Okay. Well, and now we know.
Those aren't very nice pecs.
So now he's got his rib cage. So now let's just talk about the rest of the body because it all starts to go here. We all know that a guy has a six-pack. You know, these six.
At least in the refrigerator.
Yeah. So to me, over-defining six-packs I don't think looks good. But what happens is, again, using the overlap, you come in here a little bit slightly and it goes in here. And then what happens when you get down to the bottom of your six-pack, this muscle goes in and it becomes your groin. It becomes your groin. And now what happens up in here, your pec muscles come in here and they come into this muscle, and then this one comes up in here, and this is what will, when you get older, become your love muscle. Your love handle, right? But right now you're good. So they come in there, and then you can start to connect all these lines, a lot of teardrop lines, and then this one then comes up in here to start the leg now, and it all starts. All of these things start to combine. You can start constructing the entire body in flows of one line there. And if we go back to one of the things that we showed last year, which is what I call the lazy W. So here, if you only take away one thing for drawing the body, take away this one. It's the lazy W. And there's my lazy W. And what that is that there's your chest muscle, your pec muscle. And this line here, we'll go back to, let me go back to red here. This line here, which is your chest, this line is a continuous line, and you know what that divides? That divides your shoulder and your bicep. Your shoulder and your bicep. Don't take my word for it. Take it off. Look at, I'm a little skinny guy. My chest comes up and it comes right here, and if I'm in the right light, you can see it. There's that line right here, and then on this side is the shoulder, and on that side is the bicep. And that line that rule never goes away because that muscle is locked no matter what happened. It's just called anatomy. And the reason that I say that that's the most important thing you're going to figure out on your body is because now, if you happen to want to raise the arm, if you want to raise the arm now or move it in all the dynamic poses that Greg and I have been, sort of forced to do with different stories, now you go, oh, now the guy's going to raise up over his hand. That laziness goes up here. And you go, oh, there's that lazy W again. Here's that line, right? And now you go, oh, now what? Oh, well, the shoulder has to go on this side, and the bicep has to go on this side, and here's the head. And here's the head, and that arm, that line is still there. So that line is always there. Or if your arms are down, it's there. It never goes away. That if I'm down, I've got the lazy W here, and it goes down. Otherwise, it goes up, and you just make sure if you've got that line, the shoulder's always on that other side. Because sometimes we don't realize that we can take this shoulder that's here and almost rub our ear next to it, depending where our body is. So if you keep a couple of those lines when you're doing it in the legs, in the body, and in the arms, you can get there.